Can true love exist in but a glimpse? What is love if not the bonding of two souls that meet each other in an instant without any other reason than empathy and compassion?
Welcome my ghouls and goblins to the Crypt of Knights, and tonight we are entering deep into the Gothic Romantic era with Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro's newest ode to classical monsters masterpiece.
Creator's background.
If you are not familiar with Del Toro's previous work, it is time for you to do your homework. Pan's Labyrinth, Hellboy, and Hellboy 2, The Golden Army, Crimson Peak, The Shape of Water, Nightmare Alley, Pinocchio. Guillermo del Toro is the patron saint of monsters, a kid from Guadalajara, Mexico, who grew up to be a filmmaker who treats fairy tales, horror, and Gothicism like they're all part of the same beautifully twisted bedtime story. He shows the grotesque as sublime, celebrates imperfections like holy relics, and fills the screen with insects, Catholic ghosts, amber-lit shadows, and creatures that are far more human than the people chasing them. We watched this at the River Oaks Theatre in Houston because they didn't present it at our favourite Regal Theatre. This beautifully shot film deserved to be watched at the big screen. But not to worry, you can also watch it on Netflix, as it is already streaming.
Making of Frankenstein.
Guillermo del Toro has been chasing his perfect Frankenstein for nearly 2 decades, or even more. He even claims that he wanted to film this book since he first read it when he was 11 years old. Back in 2007, he took out his old sketchbook and started designing monsters, writing notes, and dreaming of a version of the creature that wasn't just tragic, but achingly empty and obscenely alive. He wanted a film that pulled from both Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, drawing on the famous Bernie Wrightson's illustrations and graphic novel adaptation of Mary Shelley's novel, and hammering home the myth's emotional core. Studios circled, and actors came and went. Doug Jones, Benedict Cumberbatch, Andrew Garfield, then Jacob Elordi, and every time the project nearly happened at Universal. But the studio said, actually, it is time for a multi-project dark universe. So, Del Toro's dream had to be put on pause. Finally, Netflix came around and opened the checkbook. Filming kicked off in February 2024 in Toronto, and from there, the production wandered through old stone streets and mist-drenched estates in Scotland and England, like the film itself was retracing the ghostly footsteps of Gothic literature. It finally wrapped in September, after months of building a world that feels ancient, sacred, and strangely intimate. And here's the twist. Del Toro doesn't even consider it a horror film. No jump scares, no cheap thrills, just an emotional avalanche. A monster story where the real shock is that your heart ends up hurting. Oscar Isaac describes it perfectly. It's a European tragedy seen through a Mexican Catholic soul, which means the passion is not subtle. It is biblical. It is guilt, love, devotion to the guilt, and all of it delivered at full flame. This is Frankenstein not as a cautionary tale, but as a confession, the kind whispered in a dark cathedral, knowing that the monster is not the creature on the table, but the man holding the needle.
The plot.
The story begins in 1857 aboard a Danish naval ship trapped in the frozen Arctic, where the crew rescues a wounded Victor Frankenstein, only to discover he is being hunted by a powerful, intelligent creature of his own making. Victor recounts how grief, ambition, and a burning defiance of death led him from the lecture halls of Edinburgh to a lonely tower filled with lightning, corpses, and forbidden experiments. He sought to conquer death itself, believing he could out-reason the universe. Like a modern Prometheus, he defies God's laws. He succeeds. He creates a being stronger, more perceptive, and more desperate for connection than he ever anticipated. As Victor's arrogance, jealousy, and fear, most of it caused by his relationship with his father, the creator becomes a terrible father figure who abandons his creation. But then the narrative shifts, because the creature speaks. We witness his story now, his self-education, his yearning to be seen, his painful encounters with human and nature's cruelty, and his heartbreaking search for someone to call companion or kin. His journey mirrors Victor's, but from the opposite direction. The creator, driven by pride, and the creation driven by loneliness. And at one point, the idea of being truly alive, and that means to be able to die. The question that remains is not who is guilty, but whether either of them can ever be forgiven.
The filmmaking.
Visually, the film is pure Del Toro cathedral Gothic. Every frame looks painted rather than shot. The cinematography by Dan Lauston once again ups the bar. It is absolutely beautiful. The framing and composition are exquisite. The lighting has that signature amber and shadow glow that we've seen before in the Lauston-Del Toro collaborations, but this one painted with the Gothic Romanticism brush. Sets feel real, damp, and heavy with memory. Crumbling towers, Arctic iron ships, forest hovels lit by dying embers. The production design by Tamara Deverell blends romanticism with surrealism, with an unbelievable verisimilitude. You believe the world existed before the camera arrived and will keep breathing long after it leaves. It's not just beautiful, it is sublime. The camera language supports the emotion, but it never gets in the way of the story. A very rare feat. This is the first Netflix film that doesn't suffer from the streaming platform's rush production, and it is no accident that this happens. Guillermo del Toro is a Mexican director who can film with a limited budget and make any movie look like he spent billions. This is not a horror story in the traditional Hollywood way, but a Gothic romantic tale of the most human.
A nod to the Gothic Romantic era.
Ah, yes. The emotion very big, very dramatic, very, I'm staring out a rainy window thinking about my feelings. If you're a fan of the British Romanticism, you will definitely enjoy this film. Every frame seems to have been painted by Caspar David Friedrich or Henry Fuseli. And nature? Oh, buddy. Nature is basically a whole character in this thing. Mountains, storms, ominous forests, the whole dramatic landscape package. It's the universe itself looking down on Victor like, hey champ, maybe don't try to out-engineer God, yeah? But Victor does it anyway, because of course he does. Scientists in Gothic literature have one brain cell, and it is vibrating with ambition. We also get that classic Enlightenment versus romantic smackdown. Victor's like, I'm fueled by reason and progress. Meanwhile, the universe, the creature, and basically every single living thing around him is like, cool story, bro, but have you considered empathy? And Del Toro, being a classy, monster-loving gentleman, drops the literary Easter eggs. The creature reads Ozymandias by Percy Shelley, Mary Shelley's husband, king of poetic doom, and everything turns to dust eventually. Then we wrap it all up with a lovely bow from Lord Byron, because if you're making Frankenstein, you pay respect to the original monster squad of romantic poets who basically invented sad, beautiful suffering. But here's the heart of it. Del Toro cares. He's not here for the jump scares. He's here for the soul, the longing, the forgiveness. The, hey, maybe we should try understanding each other instead of torch and pitchforking our problems. Very romantic, very human, very give your monster a hug, you coward.
The cast.
The cast brings real weight to this world. Oscar Isaac is the axis the film turns on. He plays Victor not as a mad scientist, but as a man slowly devoured by his own brilliance, his performance layered with pride, grief, shame, and that Catholic sense of sin you can feel in his bones. Charles Dance is, of course, majestic, a cold, aristocratic gravity that shapes Victor long after he leaves the frame. Christoph Waltz delivers his role with that trademark elegant menace. Every line feels like a warning delivered with a smile. Felix Kammerer, as the brother, is strong and sincere, but the film doesn't give him the same emotional runway. He fades a bit into the machinery of Victor's obsession. And then there's Mia Goth. She's fine, she's present, but this role doesn't ignite her. The fire and strange charisma she's brought to other performances just isn't here. She feels a little muted, almost too polite for a story built on operatic, soul-shaking emotion. The film's passion is volcanic. Her acting here is more warm glow candle. But it is Jacob Elordi who takes this film. A very physical role, but also a very emotional one, and he makes the creature believable and relatable. Huge praise for him.
So yeah, please do yourself a favor and watch this film. You will not be disappointed, especially if you like beautifully crafted cinematography and production that not only embellishes the frame, but fills it with emotion. Thank you so much for tuning in, and please keep watching The Crypt of Knights.